strange salvation. Is that proof? What kind of proof? I am the proof. I am the evidence. This was all a long time ago. I was cast out by thick-skulled men in blood-red robes. I was bound and beaten and made to catch their vile urine in my mouth lest they beat me to death and ravage my corpse. I have seen Jesus. I have! He came to me in my sleep. He begged me to give up drinking. He stroked my hair. Shh, it's all right, he said. The wind blew and his olive skin smelled of rosemary in the sea, and I tried to speak, but he... In the morning, I woke refreshed, schoolgirl blue in a Catholic dress, knowing I'd had God in my mouth. I'd had God in my mouth like bread. Freaky homoerotic Jesus poem. Okay, so now I'm living in this 1910 apartment building, and like the second year, bugs found out about it. So this is called ants. One little ant, two ants, three little ants, marching in step, now a stream, a river of ants, streaming across the white sink and down the side like a DNA chain, a stream of energy, pure life. I'm trying to rent a room, clean the place up, and now I've got ants. They're in the kitchen, looking for every drop of spilt jam or breadcrumb or anything other than cement dust next door. It's been a cold winter, and these little buggers are coming in. I put commercial sealant around the sink lip. I put duct tape along the molding, yet still they come. I don't know how they get in. I'm vacuuming them up with my handy Portavac. Whoosh, they're gone. Taken up to heaven in an instant, like being zapped by the mothership. It looks painless. They turn into black paste. I put their mulched bodies into my houseplants' pots where they're sucked up all over again. Slow, not like this life. And I'm going to forgo the roach poem. I'll probably be sad that I did. But this is called What's Bugging You, sticking with the bug theme. This was a couple of summers ago. There's a whitish powder covering the cars and filling the cracks on the pavement. Pollen from the evergreens at the curbside and the road looks like sand headed for the gutter and the sound. Makes me think of bees. I hear they're in trouble. Facebook asked me to give money, but I fast forward. Too many causes, wolves, polar bears, mistreated pets, and they all want you to give monthly. Man, I don't make that much dough. I could give once, maybe. I've got Biden and Pelosi and Maxine Waters and people I've never heard of looking for money for Democrats. But this pollen makes me think of bees. They're in trouble. I don't know why. I think it's to do with Monsanto and maybe the aisle of pest control at your local Ace or True Value, wherever they want to kill ants or spiders or hornets or gophers or gardener snakes or gnats or mice or roaches or what have you. Oh, and lawn greener and dandelion killer and weeds of any kind runs off your lawn into the bay and contributes to its deterioration, pollution by any other name. It's killing the ocean. It's killing bee colonies. It's bugging me to no end, and I wish people could read more poetry, and maybe I could make a spit of difference. I think of parading in front of hardware stores dressed like a honeybee and ask people what twice before they buy chemicals to rid the world of pests. They are often natural remedies which people used for centuries. He'll tell you. Or better yet, get over our fear and leave the bugs alone. Pull the weeds, use a broom, knock down the hornet's nest. If it's truly in your way, they won't bother you unless you bother them. There's a whitish powder covering the cars and filling the cracks of the pavement. Looks like sand headed for the gutter and the sound. Thank you. It's kind of clunky, but drowning in meat. I am drowning in meat, blood-stained and beat, not a stick of broccoli to eat, a box of styro barbecue chicken from last night's restaurant shift. Here, take this meat. It's free. The feet were factory removed, and the heads and hooves and beaks, whoa, they were ground down, powderized into sprinkles for the dog and the cat food and the sheep. I'm drowning in meat. My arteries squeak. There's pork chops at $1.99 shoulders and backs. What a deal. Pork chops on the Formica counter, thawing out pork chops and Vandy Camp's pork and beans. I have eaten an E.B. White barnyard full of cloven-hooved, curly-tailed pigs, packaged in styrofoam, marbled, pickup sticks, makes me sick, 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 sick. My girlfriend won't allow me to cry about it, though, to let loose those electrolytes and salty water for the violence I have chewed, complicity with my aging teeth, and anything if not complicit, guilty of animal abuse. We have all tuned it out, but without question, once animal husbandry, now the factory farm, feet crowded, bleeding on metal grate, electrocuted repeatedly by some grinning dickhead, treating life like animated objects is inhumane, profane, and fucking disgusting. As the population swells and the planet warms up, all the gaseous methane, what comes of the millions of cattle and displaced wild buffalo, and practically everything else, I cry now in my room, choking down haggis on a stick, the Canadian import, a brain and organ treat favored by my bloodthirsty ancestors. If you've rented an apartment or looked for one lately, you might relate to this poem. It's called Amenities. Your little dog might like this one too. I took my amenities out for a walk, careful to pick up after them. 3 accidents uncleaned will get you kicked right out. We've got to be careful, for the lady in number 3, she doesn't like me, and I know she put her little dog scat near my entrance trying to implicate my amenities. My amenities were so named by the landlord, who doesn't live here anymore. The building has been sold and resold like a commodity, rather than an apartment, an oddity that beguiles capitalism. When I came in, the dogs were Cain and Abel. But this new management company said I was lucky to have a place. Amenities were $2.50 each, non-refundable. I used to use the porch to hang colored lights, light up our nights a little. But the landlord said that porches are amenities, and we can take it away. No grilling, no wind chimes, no bird feeders of any kind. Not those messy seed tubes, nor the red hourglasses with little honey birds. All of that sounds nice and good, but you have to pay extra. Birds bring rats. You wouldn't want that, would you? But it doesn't matter what I say. The amenities and I dodge traffic and go to the park where we're free to run and piss and bark. But the apartment's rent has climbed $500 to $1,200, $100 every year. That's 400% the way I see it. And what do we get for the extra money? What amenities do we get for our bread? Swimming pools, elevators, wind chimes, solar energy, a pool table in the common room? No, there's not even a freaking water machine. There's nothing that pisses me off more than a broken water whatever. Fountains mostly. Where's walkers like us supposed to drink? Ping pong, tennis table, for heaven's sake? I advocate a 49% total walkout, not pay rent until police helicopters show up on our front windows. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. After all, Walmart and Freddy's, with their union-busting trucking racket, will feed you cheap, cheap, cheap. And what do you want to watch the birds for anyway? This is because you may throw things at me. Virtual porn. Why write science fiction? Science fiction is here now. Here's a train running underground, overpriced buildings on top, gleaming glass, without so much as a porch to throw yourself off of because you didn't measure up. Because you're a bad egg, a failure, a disappointment, a waste of skin, a flop, or addicted secretly to virtual reality. Passengers clutch little boxes, all eyes on telescreens and white worm buds in their ears, streaming different channels of entertainment, music, or information, noise to keep the world outside in. Why be a futurist when the world's riches are all trying to go to Mars, which is like here in 100 years, one giant desert devoid of any nourishing life? Change is the only constant is our city's motto. Go to sleep tonight, wake up in a different world. Tomorrow never comes. Life is a stream, constantly moving. I am a feather, ever floating around and around. Like a pilotless plane high above the boiling ground, or wearing my headset in a virtual reality meeting on TV. An image of an image of an image of an image times 3. My avatar has a huge belly. My avatar gets horny at work. My avatar gropes avatar women, and I have to put money into the virtually square sex jar. Pick a different avatar body when I get fingered by my boss. The girls virtually jiggle their junk in my direction, batting their virtual eyes at me, showing off large, thick Egyptian eyelashes, Japanese girl avatar lipstick. Office virtual porn takes place off screen. My lover has no bottom. My lover has no legs. I have no penis between my non-existent legs. How are we doing on time?
I have no idea. It's up to you to track it.
All right, I'm going to read one real short story, okay? It's just a page and a half. It's called Losing It. My journal is my lifeline. My journal is my sketchbook, my notepad. My journal is for keeping track of ideas, for logging nuggets of dialogue, and carrying on a conversation with myself when no one else will. I pinch flowers and have jumped their prospective gardens and are encroaching into the sidewalk. They have jumped their gardens, so they're free to take in the sidewalk. Butterfly bush, lavender, both press nicely in my journal. Writing is my vocation, my hobby, and my passion. I write poems, essays, the odd short story, memoirs. I'm working on a novel which I'm sure will sell like hotcakes. A lot of it starts in a journal like this one. I run into a friend and neighbor. He too is a writer, and his dog is always exceedingly glad to see me, which bolsters my self-esteem. I'm much more interested in what dogs think of me than what people think of me. Although people are better readers, so that's something. I've lost my journal. I got some good stuff and I can't find it anywhere. I said, becoming a little frantic to this friend of mine, well, what's it look like? It's plain black with some lavender hanging out of it, and as well as some other placeholders, an envelope with a September issue of Spread, which features poetry and prose about clowns clowning around, clone clouds, and court jesters. It's a good issue. I keep an eye out for it, he says. My writing neighbor says he writes horror, sweet guy. We walk a lot around here, referring to Finney and his little dog. Thanks, man, I say dejectedly but grateful. I looked in the laundry room, nothing. I looked in the laundry basket, shit, I was gonna have to do the washing pretty soon. I looked under the couch, nothing, not even an errant cat toy. Did I put it in a bookcase? No. But there were projects there and self-published and needed to finish. Write an outline, a pitch, find an agent who gets me, get the son of a bitch published. You're prolific, so says a girlfriend. a successful poet and teacher in creative writing. I write a fair amount, but I'm lazy, and I know it when it comes easy, and I procrastinate when it gets going tough. Then I like to journal, write stream of consciousness, clear my brain pan, and I abhor paperwork and finding an agent, some kid half my age with a fraction of the experience I have, and I'm supposed to chuck myself in with her. I am a failure at marketing. But I harbor secret plans to one day, for too much longer, take a business class. Well, this journal that I can't find has material, rough stuff, granted, but there are important passages, links to my third novel. My second, Circus Jerkus, will be finished before the year's end. I will spend some time doing legwork and then put the formulating plan for the next one. I could have been held up at gunpoint. I could have been robbed. I could have lost an expensive tablet with writing and bank numbers and family pictures. I was intent on staying calm, succumbing to panic would lessen my chances of finding it. Stay with me here. I'm better at reading poetry. I looked in the car, vaguely remember seeing it on the passenger seat. I opened the back, nothing there but a free shovel I picked up 2 weeks ago, thinking about digging up some weeds. Haven't got around to it yet. I looked under the seats, nada. Maybe I left it at work. I was already in the car, so I got in, started her up, and began to drive to the Royal Room. Right out of the parking lot, left on McMullen, then down Seattle, steep hill, not too fast or you'll bottom out the front end. I'm just about to turn onto Rainier Avenue, back on flat ground at the bottom of the hill, and I look in my rear view, and there it is. My journal is resting on the rear wiper blade. I had left it on the roof, and it fell perfectly balanced to rest on the wiper. How it didn't flip out into the road without my knowing, notebook roadkill. I was immensely grateful, and in fact, something at the ready with which to write this journal in.
So 25 years ago, I wrote a memoir, and I never really intended on publishing it. It was more like a therapy project for me. I managed to pull some poems out of that memoir, and that same material is a lot of what you'll hear tonight, and I've added to it as well. This is super personal stuff, but I knew I had to get this out so I can open the door to a lot of other projects that I'm working on, mainly my novel that was mentioned, and without further ado, the nail set. Boilermakers. If I were a carpenter and you were a lady, would you marry me anyway? Would you have my baby? It wasn't our song, but I sang along in my saggy butt overalls and tool belt, swinging my framing hammer, swigging beer at the raucous Tav, me, with the boys, bouncing down the road in a stinky old yellow van, swamper on the concrete truck, tying rebar, calling in lumber lists, on-site Sawyer, all the saws, scaring the shit out of myself, not once, but twice. The crew ordered me a Boilermaker the day after my first pour. Concrete clinging in daubs to my knees and sleeves. A classic cocktail, they said. Shoot the shot and guzzle the beer. Nails in a framer's pouch that puncture fingertips when it's below freezing don't hurt until later. That's where the Boilermakers come in. The nail set. Cast steel, patterned gripping edges, worn through decades, a familiar home to fingers that grasp it. A flat point is rounded and smooth, sets a nail with perfection. No sliding, no drifting to mar a perfect surface. I was a young carpenter when my father handed me this nail set from a vast collection. His basement shop smelled of must, dust, pipe smoke, and crankcase oil. Dad had rows of nail sets, but this was his best, made for fine work. He expected me to use it well. A nail, not quite flush, gently tapped firm, with a fingertip of putty. Finished. Set. No applause until I'm done, or else I'll run out of time. You spelled my name with an I. You spelled my name with an I. And from that modest instant in time, a shift of tectonic comparisons changed lives with overpowering ripple effects like a wave that comes on the seventh surge, causing some to swim parallel to shore seeking survival, others to dive deep into a sea. You spelled my name with an I. Then bags were packed in search of higher ground, level playing fields, water for withered plants that had surrendered, food for vacant minds that craved awakening, air for restless wings to resist gravity. You spelled my name with an I, and the road opened lanes, no drop-offs on the shoulders, defining lines easily crossed over without signals, bags tossed half empty into the trunk in pursuit of a future. Oysters, September 1, 1980, Grandparents' Day. In an elaborate letter to my parents, a plucky betrothal full of vows, you pledged to take care of us, me, and my children. Shucking oysters on the canal, my kids competed, sitting on the evening dusky deck, bivalves piling up, mosquitoes threatening. We sipped white wine, watched the sunset, planning a life of bold ambitions. December 17th, 1983. A silver ornament of a mama gnome holding her baby gnome. I reached to tie it on a bough with a bright red ribbon and no rifle shot, but like a bullet in my gut. Bam, down on the floor, and I crawl upstairs to the toilet, clawing at my red wool sweater, sweating, hot, cold, can't get over my head, can't lift arms, can't straighten bent body. Help me, get this off. 911. I don't want to lose this baby. Fire engines, lights, and sirens, and my son said, "There's no fire here." Large men in heavy canvas clothing up the stairs, jangle, thump, carry me down the stairs in their arms. Don't let me lose my baby. My hand blended with the white of the ER and the blob of blood as red as Christmas stockings, scissored my clothes down the middle, up my sleeves. I keep bleeding. Who left the door unlocked? Who left the door unlocked? In a house with 4 exterior doors and 18 interior doors, who was responsible for making sure doors were locked? Preoccupied teenagers with homework, jobs, and the opposite sex for distraction? A small child who was never responsible for anything? An adult, a parent whose duty it is to protect the contents of the house and all within? They came through the kitchen door. Shiny car keys hanging directly beneath the calendar, the first thing they would see. New kitchen knives, still seeking a proper home on the counter, found one in the hands of intruders. Fresh packs of cigarettes on the kitchen table. The vacuum cleaner with its long, handy cord, slashed and perfect for tying you and me back to back. 3 teenagers in the dark of night, towels over their faces, our used and damp towels from short hours before, a hot September night on Queen Anne Hill. Phone cords cut, smoke's gone, the office phone deep in the basement, live and connected to the outer world. You, untangled, racing down 2 flights to dial 3 numbers to call the cops, who left dark ruts on our watered green lawn, 5 patrol cars, 9 officers, no cigarettes. You must have known them, the short, stern cop insisted, thumbs hooked in his cargo vest, interrogating our terrified teenagers. Who left the door unlocked? The cop said. You must have been expecting them. Dragons in the dark. Sometimes the things we perceive as monsters aren't bad at all. But we don't know this until it's usually too late, and we've moved on to some other monster, a real one perhaps, that made us realize how lucky we had it and wish we could go back. Sometimes what looks like a dragon in the dark turns out to be the shadow of a kitten. Drive-by, January 24, 1994. People shot on streets, bullets peering houses, killing children, teenagers dropping like whittled twigs, zero defense against stray projectiles. No guns in our neighborhood. Germs can do the damage. Silent and deadly, creeping up the stairs, through closed doors, under quilted covers. Bang, score. I would have called him Timmy or Henry or Hank. I would have let his hair grow into long, dark curls that would bob when he laughed. I would have watched him eat purple plums and spread them over his cheeks. I would have saved his baby teeth and a lock of his hair. I would have kissed his toes and kissed his toes and kissed his toes. I would have called him Timmy or Henry or Hank. I would have read him Good Night Moon. I would have let him suck his thumb. I would have sung him to sleep with Simon and Garfunkel, filling in the words. I would have rocked him in my arms forever. Yesterday, Breeze turned 70, April 2, 2013. The guy who came home from the hospital was not a stranger, but he was no longer familiar. Familiar in the way someone is after a couple of decades listening to their sleeping breath, smelling their shirt collars, fitting into the groove of their spoon. Yesterday, Breeze turned 70. It's been 10 years since I've seen him. Next January will mark 20 years since the drive-by germ. Until spring 1994, Breeze, prisoner of Providence Hospital, saving, nourishing, rebuilding, rehabilitating, skin grafts, amputations. A vibrant, jolly, young 50-year-old diagnosed with meningitis and sepsis, not expected to make it through the night. I learned in words not minced how Breeze's brain was damaged from deprivation of oxygen. He had an amazing recovery. He was just a little crazy. At Christmas time, everything was a surprise, a giggle, parties, any time of year, major to minor, sometimes completely contrived, executed and planned weeks in advance, or completely spontaneous. Never a family of his own, his mother's relationship to vodka more important than her needy child. My family took him in like a hungry, blemished wanderer. Breeze gave the eulogy at my father's service and then made my mother a priority. Sometimes a challenge for both. They didn't always see eye to eye, but he tolerated her sharp remarks. In turn, she softened. When old friends conclude that Breeze made stupid decisions, totally messed up his life, plowing through his inheritance, forsaking old buddies, consorting with undesirable people, I tell them, it was a germ. The husband I brought home was old, deaf, disabled, and mad as hell. The beautiful door. It was a beautiful door. Older than old oak, with a perfect patina, beveled windows, a glass knob, and a brass key. How I loved that door. Not grand, but official and warm. Sun warming the quarry tile, white enamel trim, glossy and smooth. It was a beautiful entry with a beautiful door. The nail had to be pounded into the door, he said, and the notice had to be visible, and the nail had to go through the notice, embedded into the beautiful door. I tore it off when his back was turned. I looked around the neighborhood to see if anyone was watching, seeing me standing at my beautiful door. I held on to the door, and I crumpled the paper. Notice of foreclosure. Tossed the nail into the street with a clink. I closed the beautiful door. Crash, March 19, 2014. You came back into my life. 11 years I hadn't seen you. I did not pass the time idly. Latin lovers and foreign-owned businesses in my name. Fuerte, they called me, valiente. I'd learned a new language by the seat of my pantalones. The call was not frantic, more inquisitive. Someone whose contact information was in your wallet, and as path followed path, they found my number by chance. Next of kin was required. Your back, leg, and other important body parts were fractured when you flew through the air over Nickerson Street. Your flight provided by Pizza Hut, a driver too lively and quick. Your skull was intact, although there was a large gash enough to hold a small galaxy. The neurosurgeon said they detected no brain damage. The orthodox said there's broken bones everywhere. When you woke, things that had been sleeping came alive again. Olivia said you had had the sense knocked back into you. Oh, yes, I can remember you. Oh, yes, I can remember you. You have turned on the faucet of warm memory lodged deep and long. It all comes bubbling out now, rusty and not quite clear, saturating my mind with foggy happenings, damp vows, entangled that could never be unwound somehow. The room steams. Gazing in the mirror, my reflection blurred from the precipitation on the glass and in my eyes. I wish you would leave so I could remember you with the scent of green timber before it's aged. And just one more, if I can find it. This is epilogue. There are several other poems in this collection in between that tell like the whole story. I have a 5-year-old painting my nails, a sparkle who burst out of the gloom. Dancing with my daughters until past midnight, mothers now too, with disdain for dawn and duties. A budding moon that is near full like a glistening baby's head, birthing a notion. Glasses half empty, defying anecdotes and predictions. Beatles Abbey Road, because. How can so many years pass so quickly? Chapters bulging with keys to stubborn locks. Life can seem so short, gazed at through the wrong end of a telescope. My children twirling together, lying on the floor, laughing. Nothing can be so complete as looking at a life not finished. Thank you.
My friend Burgandi came to cheer me on, and she challenged me to read something that's really fun to read. She loves rhyming poems, and so I'm going to get started with something that's just a little fun on the tongue. In some midsummer mashup of martyred munchkins and bruised up buttercups, I've loved up the hush-up money, given up white flags for fresh-combed honey. You crunch me between your teeth and make it sound yummy. Now we pretend to laugh at something not funny. In some corner store quick stop where stick-up kids clip-clop over bridges where trolls have seized, causing gridlock, your mother still wonders while you never stop at the pit stop, breaking down by the side of these roads, crumbling like quantums, underhanded and wanton. Why are we bodied, full or less than, culminated creations of a dream out of Bethlehem, or board-branded blending of particle and wave, sundered and rendered in coffin and cage, an empty promise of a sacred age? You come distant, televised, between my thighs. We wrestle indecision and discard these sighs. No matter how many times that we've tried, the end still gives away the years choked inside. Who comes to steal all the villain's best lines when the piper has played away the children of concubines? In the final act, 6-pack mortar attack, I've been waiting to pry the invisible eyes from my camel's back. Now I'm old enough to understand, to say the words and take them back. The touch-tone tattle, the swollen sack. Spiders weave the words we read when God isn't talking back. you. This is a newer poem. I called it Reinventing Wheels. I'm going to move this a little. It's just in my eyesight. Like a newborn with cries still wet on my lips, my tongue reached for tastes I couldn't imagine, crawling toward a hand up, a wobbly way to learn the dance of living one step at a time. Like infant dreams, I make no sense to myself, growing older in all these childish ways, a tantrum of wants pounding the floor. Come give my adolescent eyes that burned down look that crooked trees point to if you look hard enough. Yet this is so much to swallow, so little to chew. The wisdom teeth tell each other secrets smeared on the tongue. I go gray and still as fog some nights, ageless with hands forever, bouncing through time again and again, no sand in the hourglass left to turn over. I kiss this reasoning, forgive bad blood, finally break even, ripened for the season of sad seeds slipping free of 100 years of dark, to wear a damp new disguise, circling vines, spelling the quiet lies, photosynthesized back into sunlight, the same way we might find new ways to be. So I was talking to Leopoldo. I told him that I turned 50 this year, which is exciting for me, a big milestone. I didn't always know if I'd make it this far, so I'm glad to be here. And also, I'm in love. So this is a sexy poem. It's called Succumb. In the breath of your hand on my neck, I learned a new language that north-facing plants know but don't ever tell us. A sordid, silent reverie, a mirage in the thirstiest deserts dance when suddenly set free. These streaks of cheeklet answers announcing each new cleaving, your endings so uneven, the pulse in places beating drum-like down the veins, blooming into Eden after 40 days of rain. In the breath of your hand on my neck, I translated new whispers into old ways of sating, tongues that still flicker as sudden as thunder on the horizon, lighting our skin, crackling sparks singeing these skylines, these minute matched up rhythms clapping for what's happening. Your fingers find each opening, sliding sinfully inside, lips that lose each other, tongues that keep us tied. In the breath of your hand on my neck, I sung a well-worn hymn, not wholly except for the way my voice starts to flutter and ebb, a murmured undulation, a tidal dream left in this bed, a violent gesture of learning love from lonely lessons made soft from lungs listening to their own humble hush. These bodies of water we drink from, filling each other endlessly, fulfilling each new prophecy our palms are known to tell. Your unraveling so heavenly, I rise to every swell, then fade into the falling where the last fence in me fell. So there's a poet, a Seattle poet, who taught me a lot about poetry. He won a Master of Erotic Literature from the Seattle Erotic Art Festival, and he's in hospice now. And this poem was inspired by him, the amazing David Jones. Have we reached that river that ferrymen dream of? Did you bring your coins to pay our way through these dark and damning waters, thick with feathers, souls, almost ghosts who wander the halls of lusting, lonely, cry out into something blacker than night? We'll speak the words for each other, a reckoning of flesh and new kinds of messes, the fingers of time ripe on the wrists, pinning each sin to a crumbling hymn, humming through the space between stars. We stay mad, drunk. We split ourselves wide open, straight down the breastbone. No rest, no less home. Can this be called an ending when I feel so full of starting over? If psyches can twin their erotic spin, stirring up ghosts in costumes of skin, then we can cross this chasm again on bridges we build without knowing where we're going, escape plan buried within. This little phrase came to me and it just was so powerful. It stayed in my head for a long time before the rest of the poem came out. In a mouth full of knives, you were a tongue, still soft and willing to speak. In a house full of spies, you lived off their lies, stayed soft and willing to speak. To dredge from the deepest of deep, down through layers that seep below our demons, infused with old dreams and the secrets they keep at a cost much too steep. In the middle of the night, you were a light licking its way down the street, as if to teach a new belief into the way we breathe ourselves to sleep, still soft and willing to speak. This is my justice poem. It's called Tipping the Scales. RBG is a big hero of mine, so this I wrote the night before she passed away. Gavel me to order, the jury's been picked like old fruit unvined, a two-finger solution stronger than the mind, blessed as a lamb, sutured with sun, a New Year bloodletting born ugly as oil. Crack my skull where the bones meet most. I'm eggshell thin and black with ash, yet suckling hard on falling leaves in the inside of God's wrists. Don't call me a vampire. Don't wear me like a mask. Don't disease me into doctoring your freshest wounds with salt again. A leech learned lesson, leaning against my better judgment, a spark at the gas pump and the whole thing may blow. Arcane agitation will come polishing stones and clearing our names, all the sonnets of a sentinel rusting in smoke-filled rain. The priest wears judge robes tonight, hands me down, hand-me-downs, a janky justice made wholer than hell. I drew prison bars all over my arms before I knew what keys could be, warm-blooded enough to know the difference between a crime and a circumstance. Clamp down each jaw that winces when wondering which of us will leave first, die first, be wrong first. Call your witnesses, those wolves and witches that spray your name slobbered and slick to say some songs supposed to sell, the best brands of innocence to the least of us. As if I object, in silent measures, every beat a rest, every word a moaned mirage, a dream dust tongue clung undone, homespun enigmas making mockery of boring sorcery. A sustained claim, columned and insane, envisions us all blinded with shame, all the men's of means, rebuilding me from old movie scenes and their own worst dreams. Deliberately describe how the night breaks down around you when skin deems sin endearing, when screams don't mean what you think they mean. The stepping stones become the sentence stolen from poets of prescient Pompeii, staring through frozen eyelids into a split-screen future history. We keep looking back, too hard to ever see. Without fail, without bail, I'm setting myself free. Okay, so this is the poem I'm proudest of lately. It's called Albatross, and I'm sure you all get the symbolism of that. Now I just have to find it. Yeah, not Monty Python. but this poem is called Albatross, and it's my last poem tonight. You, a bent bird, hung like shame around my neck as I thirsted, drowned everywhere, afraid to drink at the well of plenty. Your milk and honey tainted with reasons, a new taste full of old curses. The drops of dew dancing on the tongue, hot oil in the pan, skipping, jumping, spitting out secrets. I thought I was an emperor without any clothes or fabric or thread or knowledge of how to breathe underwater. Some slippery slope we slid down, extinction the only word we were afraid of before we learned gravity. Wisdom more ancient than men are made of before shackles or sin built in like soaring feathers fixed to fragile skin. I watched you call me names more humane than holy when you learned how hollow our bones were, how emptiness is needed for flight. As if years alone would find me, as if I wanted to be found, pinned down, left to learn of longitude from memories of maps and scars, the innocence of prison guards, the name we gave to other people's pain, diving ocean, winter white, a haunted wave of what comes next. I gave you more than clouds and arrows, loved you more than air's best breath. You've known me now for years on end, salt and sand and sea and land, a black stone around my neck, so long I couldn't live without it. Soul shaking free from shackles and stairs, soft sacred smoke rising through wind, the hatching sound singing ashes to sleep. You, a bent bird, a fossil, a dream of regret, angry at the seams, too heavy for arms, in love with height, too sad for climbing. As I rhymed your name with every season, I was full of shipwrecks and notes in bottles written by hands, foreign and proud. Water, water, spelled in palms, too small to hold on to, these relics of tentacles, these mismatched missions we made with our tongue. Your land of plenty, polluted with progeny, plucked from the shores of other men missing in action, or maybe just laying down dead. The last of us spread out on the table, a feast for the senses, a meal fit for kings. The throne room's gone empty, a crown without glory in a kingdom of clowns. I thought I was a fisherman, pulling up dark dampness, other people's honesty, laced with salt and brine, still sliding down slopes. I slicked up myself, extinction, the only word we knew in sign language before we learned surrender and coming undone. We named all the animals so we'd never get lonely, and that's how they found us when the day finally came. You, a bent bird, hung like a medal, a badge of bravery around my new neck. Thank you.
I jumped for the moon and landed in the stars. Took a while to get here, so I've got a few scars and a few demons that whisper, snitches get stitches. Can't make peace with my trauma, got a trigger finger that twitches. Quick drawn anger, pictures of a suspicious mind. Find 1,000 words to whittle self-talk that's so unkind. Aim straight at the temple and my goddess within, hiding in a cup that's too large with walls just too thin. To deal with the pressure of these enormous depths, swimming against the current of my temperament and sex, when what I needed was a buoy to help me rise and know my worth. Remind me gravity is relative and we're weightless above the earth. Thank you. All right, so this one I need a little bit of audience participation because it's pretty slow, so I need your guys' help. So I'm just gonna need you guys to snap, okay? Just on a beat, that's it. So it's gonna be like this, and then I'll start. So that's it. That's all you have to do. Thank you. The boys I know like cigarettes. each so straight and tall, in candy-colored containers boasting Camel or Pall Mall. Each begins with pristine filter, till sallow with acrid smoke. Each starts off smooth as Sara to make you choke. This love nicotine addiction can't be replaced with a patch. They feel too good between my fingers, and I'm always a lit match. There we go, good job. Sorry I messed up, you guys. It went so well, it gave me shivers. I was like, ooh. Okay, so this one I wrote actually after I met my partner. We've been together about 4 years, but it was like 6 months in, and I was like really excited, and still am. But you'll see the transition, but sort of. But anyway. On my own, finally free, looking in the mirror and like I'm finally me pleasantly. Destiny, I'm impressed by the view and how far I can see that I melt when I'm felt. Screaming in the sheets even when I'm by myself. Growing and groaning over work that I'm owning. Living and loving so fast when I'm fucking bossing it, flossing it. Every day's a holiday. Pleased I'm getting off it with an eye to the sky. You try to shut me down, I'll sprout wings and I'll fly to the stars and the bars, where I only like dancing and boys who play guitars, sighing and dying over vibes I'm supplying, direct, connect like an addict at my neck, feeling smug like a drug, because I'm loving the effect. And that's my last line, because I'm as high as I can get. That's what I have. Thank you.
My grandmother Baxter, we called her Big Mama Nee, was the wife of a farmer at the southernmost edge of the Midwestern Dust Bowl Depression when the black Texas dirt burned up and blew away. She took her kids and her pride to a cotton mill town, came to sit with the deacons, singing songs of rebirth and revival. But my granddaddy's hands were still deep in the family farm. He tried to make a living pumping gas, washing windows and smiling at the Dallas done-up women till he had it up to here. Not the same as his hand in the furrow, running mules in the mid-afternoon, but she badgered him, bullied him, broke him down gently like a beat-up old gelding, and it's something she said once, I never knew what. He just gave up and said, woman, you do it all now. I'm gonna go watch the TV. And he spent his last afternoons watching game shows and cartoons and Donna Reed reruns. So Big Mama Nee took in laundry, took the white cotton collars of the cotton mill manager's sons and daughters to the flat iron, made them pretty and stiff until Sunday came, and then she and the deacons and Granddaddy's doctor and the daughters and merchants and planters and bankers and barristers sat in the front row of the First Baptist Church like her mother had done. She worked hard for a living, and she held her whole family together with mettle and pride. All the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren together came home for the holidays with love and respect. But Big Mama Nee was a mean old woman. And I never felt like anything I did was ever enough, couldn't do enough, be enough. Nobody could, not the neighbor next door or the daughters-in-law or the sisters-in-law or the neighbor that carried her groceries. She thought they were stupid and lazy and wasted her time, and she never could stop talking about all the great stuff my cousins had done. All the places they had been, and the big games, and good grades, and the people they knew, and the good-looking girlfriends, and I was this skinny kid with big crooked teeth knocking over the iced tea at dinner. She treated her own sons exactly the same way. When they were around her and tried hard to please her, she had nothing to say good about them. Made them feel like they had always done something dirty, didn't make good, disappointed her. There was my Uncle L.C., the mortician, built a hospital, made the who's who in Tulsa. There was Lloyd, the baby, a linebacker for the Packers in the 40s with a beautiful wife and beautiful children. And then there was my daddy, the salesman, got laid off in the summer at the packing house office on Lancaster, and he married the daughter of a postman instead of a banker. But Big Mama Nee made them all feel the same, made them all feel belittled, berating, browbeating, and badgering them. All come for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and Mother's Day and her birthday, and just about every other weekend the kids came to see her and they bowed to her, scraped for her, and she held her whole family together that way after Granddaddy died. Till a massive stroke cut her down too. Laid her out and unconscious. She hit her head on the sink, and she lay there till morning, till the colored man found her, took her head in his lap, and he held her and he cried till the aid car came and took her away. We buried her next to my granddaddy. It was funny how the family kind of fell apart when she died, how the brothers started drinking and gambling and arguing over little things and things not so little. Things been festering up all along. My daddy's unspoken resentments about money, and my Uncle LC figured he was the one who'd been paying for everything for too many years, and they both had it out with Uncle Lloyd because he hadn't come enough, paid enough, called enough, cared enough, and they near came to blows in the back by the ironing board. We could hear them. And now my cousin's divorcing his comatose wife, and my niece run away with some kid run away from his wife and his kids with no car and no money, and my cousins start cross-dressing, and my brother hits me up for the money I owe him, and the other says he's figuring I'm going to hell, and my Aunt Marilee begins telling me about all the incest and Indian babies and annulments and abortions, and she grabs for the porcelain figurines, and my second cousin grabs for the family Bible. And my daddy starts to holler that the silver is his because Mom and he said so, and my other aunt grabs for the Duncan 5 table, and my cousin tries to mount her, and the sky becomes black, and the wind starts to blow, and so I go out the back door, wander off down the alley, and end up in the cemetery all alone. She is lying there peaceful and quiet, and I stand at her headstone, and I miss her so much. I miss her berating, browbeating, and badgering because she held her whole family together. So I dug her up. I said, "Get your ass up, you're coming with me." She was all dirty and made up with pancake and lipstick and crap that she wouldn't have worn on a bet. She was stiff as a door, but I carried her sideways down the alley that ran near the shopping mall, and she smelled pretty bad, but I figured it was the least I could do for my daddy. And I banged her old head on the lid of a trash can, put her over the fence in the back by the clothesline, stood her up on a pole by the porch light, and she was still looking meaner than ever. And I called out the family to come to the screen door. And they came out and stared at her, opened their mouths in amazement, till Aunt Marilee said, "Big Mama, you didn't really give Charlie the silver, did you?" And the light from the porch light seemed to sparkle with June bugs, seemed to crackle and light up the dirty old body. And Big Mama Nee said, "Darling, I didn't want you to get it. Now get back in the house and get done with the dishes. And boys, I've had it with your bitching and moaning. Get your asses in gear and get out of this bad blood you've been doing." And they all said, "Yes, Mama, yes, Mama." And they went back in the house holding hands, except for the cross-dressing cousins who was sucking down pearl beer and wanted to dance with her. But I took her on back, put her back in the ground, and said, "Big Mama Nee, you're a wicked old woman, the wife of a farmer at the southernmost edge of the Midwestern Dust Bowl Depression. Don't forget us. We miss you. I miss you." All this from the skinny kid with the big crooked teeth.
This first one is entitled Night Vision. The past keeps sending me inscribed invitations. I read them, but never RSVP. It's rude of me, I know, but between the lines I find irony in formica, linen, and good china. Women who wear heels to garden parties, heels that sink in soft summer grass. I was a child of university. Grammar in my cereal bowl, syntax on the barbecue. Publisher parish professors smoking pot in the back room while we splashed in the pool. Behind the smiles and cigarettes, tomes of transgression, tucked away like drafts of unfinished novels they thought I'd never see. There was a cottage on the beach where arguments might drown in the swells, where night's high tide would sweep under the deck as if to return treasures taken or wash away those charming 50s facades. Now there's just sand and shore, sandpipers, the lagoon with its darting insects hovering above, and memories in every tide pool. Brine is a fine preservative. Thank you. I think I'm going to have to read this on my phone because the printer didn't do this right. So anyway, this is actually the first poem I ever got published. I didn't send my poetry out. I didn't share it with people for years and years and years. And even after I got this published, I didn't do any sending out poetry for a very long time. So, and I wrote this in 1978. It's entitled The Dancer. You've entered my life with the ease of a dancer, gliding your way across this set. A breeze creates soft rustle of night leaves. Through my heart, a song whispers your name. Your movements, leaps, lunges, dance of the lover, rhythmic chant of body and earth, a tribute to two moving together, making their own breezes through the air. Like quiet love, you have brought me your gift. I will hum my song through your dreams beside you. I know your heart, speaking softly its night dance with my own. You go to your weekly, life calls us all. What remains with me is a kind of silence, a kind silence, resounding in joy. It's as deep as the sea, as wide as the canyons, as old as mountains standing silent, majestic, knowing. I surrender myself to the knowledge of mountains. They have survived so much more than I. And look up to sea against a brilliant sunrise, a lone dancer paying tribute to this world. Thank you. And next up is-
I'm going to read one kind of fun, hopefully you'll think it's fun, kind of a silly poem, and then a serious poem. One of my idols in life is the late George Carlin. And George Carlin said there were 7 words you can't say on TV. This poem is dedicated to number 7. I'll let you figure out what that is in a second. And I'd like to dedicate this poem to the lovebirds at table 1, or as I like to call it, the love shack over here. This poem starts with an epigraph. Music has charms to soothe a savage breast. From the play The Morning Bride, William Cosgrove, 1697. 1697. The world's greatest trade. A woman's breast represents more euphemisms than any other word in the history of the English language. Boobs, man boobs don't count. Bongos, bazookas, bra busters, chest cannons, treasure chest, milk missiles, milk puppets, leave it to cleavage, my personal favorite, fun bags, cheese nips, fried eggs, a full balcony, honkers, hooters, Hollywood Hills, Lady Gaga's tatas, the Goo Goo Dolls, front bumpers, headlamps, headlights, spotlights, knockers, love jugs, juggernauts, blouse balloons, lady lumps, mams, mammaries, rack of mam, pumpkin smugglers, double bubbles, snuggle bunnies, the girls, the golden girls, the t-shirt twins, 2 scoops, second base, solar panels, speed bumps, sweater zeppelins, chimichangas, Twin Peaks, teats, tits, sugar tits, titties, and itty-bitty titty committee. And don't forget weapons of mass distraction. The aforementioned euphemisms meet every Tuesday at a euphemism support group located in the back room of a topless bar where they are, oh, by the way, fully clothed, layered, in fact, and where they openly discuss their fears, their dreams, and according to statistical data, the reason a man's IQ drops an average of 57 points in the first 5 seconds after seeing a woman's breast. or even just the contours of a woman's breast, AKA the power of the side boob. Some of the euphemisms discuss successful breast lifts, some discuss boob jobs gone wrong, and others giggle and titter over the greatest euphemism of all, gentlemen's club. A cup, B cup, C cup, double D cup, my cup runneth over, bras, brasiers, string bikinis, tank tops, tube tops, crop tops, plunging necklines, lingerie, negligees, and let's don't forget today's top vote getter, the over-the-shoulder boulder holder. Thank you, sir. Why does a suckling baby boy cry when his mother is finished nursing and removes her breast from his tiny mouth? Because he knows it'll likely be a good 18 years before he gets that close to one again. At the end of the day, though, unquestionably and without fear of contradiction, the greatest trade of all time is still tit for tat. Thank you. Thank you. I had to look up tat. I wasn't sure if tat was a thing or not. It is, actually. All right, here's a serious one. I bet you know this song. Bart Baxter, I remember you from the Washington State. Is Bart still back there? The Washington State Poets Association. And he gave me some great advice. This is way back in the 90s. Anyway, this is a serious piece, and it's a cover of a song. And I became obsessed with this song. I still kind of am. And I researched it. I researched the songwriter and the Bible Belt and the South and the farming and just the whole thing. It was released in 1967 on Capitol Records. It was her first album. It was topped the charts in contemporary hip-hop, country songs, the Billboard's top singles, and it knocked all the Sgt. Pepper songs off the charts in 1967. All right, without further ado, the songwriter says of this song, it tells of a rural Mississippi's family's reaction to the suicide of a local boy to whom the daughter, the narrator of the story, is connected. The song received widespread attention, leaving its audience intrigued as to, well, I don't think I want to tell you the rest. I will just say that she deemed this story a study, I got to catch my breath, a study in unconscious cruelty. This is called Ode to Billy Joe. It was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day. I was out chopping cotton and my brother was baling hay. And at dinner time, we stopped and walked back to the house to eat. And Mama hollered out the back door, y'all remember to wipe your feet. And then she said, I got some news this morning from Choctaw Ridge. Today, Billy Joe McAllister jumped off the Tallahassee Bridge. And Papa said to Mama as he passed around the black-eyed peas, well, Billy Joe never had a lick of sense. Pass the biscuits, please. There's 5 more acres in the lower 40 I got to plow, and Mama said it was a shame about Billy Joe anyhow. Seems like nothing ever comes to no good up there on Choctaw Ridge, and now Billy Joe McAllister's jumped off the Tallahassee Bridge. And Brother said he recollected when he and Tom and Billy Joe put a frog down my back at the Carroll County Picture Show. And wasn't I talking to him after church last Sunday night? I'll have another piece of apple pie. You know, it just don't seem right. I saw him at the sawmill yesterday up on Choctaw Ridge, and now you tell me Billy Joe's jumped off the Tallahassee Bridge. And Mama said to me, child, what's happened to your appetite? I've been cooking all morning, and you ain't touched a single bite. That nice young preacher, Brother Taylor, dropped by today. Said he'd be pleased to have dinner on Sunday. And oh, by the way, he said he saw a girl that looked a lot like you up on Choctaw Ridge, and she and Billy Joe was throwing something off the Tallahatchie Bridge. A year has come and gone since we heard the news about Billy Joe. And Brother married Becky Thompson, and they bought a store down in Tupelo. There was a virus going around, and Papa caught it, and he died last spring. And now Mama doesn't seem to want to do much of anything. And me, I spend a lot of time picking flowers up on Choctaw Ridge. and drop them in the muddy waters off the Tallahatchie Bridge. That's it for me.
Hi, I'm Sara Froi. I'm going to read a couple. These are 3 I submitted yesterday to go into next year's anthology from the poetry group I'm from. We just moved to Seattle in June, so it's been cool, and I'm glad we found a good space. I'm beginning to understand why ancient civilizations worshipped the sun as we revolve around it, solar-powered, dependent on light and warmth for food, for survival, wondering why we became so arrogant, deciding it's time that something revolved around us. Although our sun is just one amongst millions in our galaxy amongst millions in our universe, blanketing ourselves in the audacity to call any of this ours. But we are special, chosen, 1 in a million, so important that only a miracle could give us life. The sun has nothing to do with it. And like I said, I submitted these last night, and I needed to keep on theme. It was like past, present, future. So I wrote this last night because I felt like I didn't have anything that fit. Anyway. I keep almost touching it. I can't quite reach it. A thought about the future that I just can't grasp. Trying to look ahead, trying to be hopeful, just 1 more month closer to the good life. How many months will I say this? However many more it takes? Am I even moving forward or just treading water, heading off the deep end, or just heading off? Stuck trying to focus on the future, believing I was already swallowed by the past. Rose-tinted glasses tell me all my memories are easy. Gray-tinted glasses tell me the light up ahead is dull. But there's still a light up ahead. And I'll do one more, and I'll be done. I will sit naked on the floor of the shower, too hot water pouring over me with not enough energy to reach up and turn it down. My mind is fully focused on what I might eat for dinner. What are the steps? How many pans will it take? How much effort will it take? Will I be required to interact with my roommates? I almost decide to forego the meal, imagining my body might shrink if I skip dinner, but will I even notice because any size feels too large in my skin? How many minutes has it been? Have I even washed my hair yet? What if I dye my hair purple? What if I cared again? What if I gave it more volume, both my hair and my voice? I will sit here, scolding my body, scolding my mind, telling myself that there's nothing wrong with me. It's all in my head. I am just lazy if I choose to skip dinner based on the effort that it takes. I am frozen, trying to force myself to thaw, pick myself up off the ground, get out of my head, out of the shower, and onto the floor of my bathroom to start spiraling again.
This is my dog, Budafly, and it's his first time at C&P, so woohoo! So to our third featured sexy poem, I'm gonna venture into a sexy poem as well. I wrote a book and launched it in August, and I'm pleased as punch by it, and the response has been remarkable. And just a little preface, something's coming up here that has a trajectory to take me somewhere huge, and I never would have anticipated this. And my goal is the whole way through to remain humble and just keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's not like a big publishing company or something, it's something better. Thirst. You gonna work with me? Confidence glides back from the kitchen, bountiful chaperone from the midnight crossing, sets 2 cups steaming on chaudrons when things fall apart, overturned. Presses parted lips through mussed curls onto a dreamful eye. I'm not gonna actually move around as much as I thought I would because of him. Anyhow. Presses parted lips through mussed curls onto a dreamful eye, gazing in from beyond the pain. Buddhistically cool raindrops descend, backlit by crepuscular rays. For their coda, they coalesce, mirror the glowing dancers inside. On the night table, white clouds rise, unbound, alchemize brunette into caramel. The still hot French press holds court with a pearly spoon splayed on the quartzite countertop. And my thanks to Tom Robbins for his adverb Buddhistically, as he wrote in his essay, "You moists remember this," excerpted from Edgewalking on the Western Rim. New works by 12 Northwest writers. Thank you. Do you want to stay up here? Do you want ups? Come on. Come on. Come on. Up. Come on. Woohoo. Circus dog. Soul stretch. I'm beginning to be taller than I ever was before. There's a yoga mat beneath me as I bend and hold and clear my mind through breath and focus. It stills the chattering din of thought. Set intention, pay attention, attune to the core of me. Small speck in infinite breadth and space, vast oceans move tide to tide beneath my skin. Through soft-eyed, muted gaze, I hold gratitude for the yogis beside me, who navigate their crafts, and for Ujjayi breath, the ocean's breath, that clears us from within. After corpse pose, we echo our guide in Namaste. I bow to you. Great. Haven't read this one in a bit. Can I set you down? I'm gonna set you down. You can. Wait, we're caught on. There we go. Bracelet or necklace. Real. Sorry, that was loud. Dear one, you have come so far through abuses and deceptions, misperceptions of others' best intentions, weighted depression from an injured brain, traumas for which you know the names. All that threatened to defeat you didn't beat you. You can't let it and won't let them ever steal your shine again. Dear one, once cast down in tears, have put in the years. Have put in the years to unravel who you are at heart. You are more than enough. You are real. All those moments deeply flustered until you found the sinew in you, mustered from eras in which you dwelled in a cave sequestered, despairing, praying for a better outcome. Yet out you came, you persevered. Dear one whose generous heart at times greatly deceived you, willingly you gave so much to ease others' burdens. You forgot you too were a deserving part. When you honed your gaze within, and the spotlight turned away from them, they were for a time discomfited. It wasn't your fault. Not only ask what others want to eat, nourish yourself as well, and receive the hand extended to you. Dear one, you are more than enough. You are real. Thank you. That's it for open mic.